So I only shoot digital because I have to. Let me explain. And stay with me and I'll explain of my total cameras, what percentage of my cameras are Leica cameras and also what percentage of my cameras are digital compared to non-digital. I think you'll be a little bit surprised. Let's get into the video. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. First, let's cover 5 points why I shoot digital. Number one, I shoot digital because I'm often doing videos for YouTube and it's much easier to test lenses with a digital camera than it is for a film camera. If you test with film cameras, you can introduce lots of anomalies because of the film, whereas if you shoot with just a digital sensor, it's the best chance I can have to showing you what a lens can do. And also it's much easier and faster to test lenses with digital, so you can quickly see what's good, what's bad, show you the vignetting, the bokeh, the flare really quickly and just move it straight from my SD card to my computer and share it with you guys. Number two, probably a popular reason why maybe some of you also shoot digital, and that is you need digital photos for your client work. So when I'm shooting weddings, I needed digital photos to give to my clients. When I'm shooting with models or doing some portrait shoot, I'll need to give them digital photos. And equally, when I'm teaching my workshops, it's much easier for me to explain a situation where I can quickly show the back of the camera and say, I did this because of this, and it's much easier to teach with a digital camera compared to film if you're trying to explain something that you just took a photo of. Number three, digital photos are my currency for paying models. So all the models you see in all of my videos and all of my photos on Flickr and Instagram, I'm paying them with photos. So by having digital photos, that is my digital currency to allow me to exchange my time with the models, to get models to test, to do shoots with. So I need my digital photos to pay the models. You might say, but Matt, why don't you just pay them with film photos? Well, the problem with film is you never quite know 100% what you're going to get. Your film might fail, or the developing might go wrong, or something might happen, and you might only take one roll of film with a 36 exposure camera, so you get 36 pictures compared to maybe 300 pictures if I shot with digital. So models don't really care what camera you take the photo with, they just want the pictures. So for them, digital is a much easier way to get more photos. Reason number four is I use digital photos like photographers used to use the Polaroids back in the past. People used to use Polaroids for testing the lighting and also to show the client or the model how they're looking in the image, and then they know how the hair looks and things like that. I use the digital rear LCD display to show the model, hey, this is how you look, and they get a sudden massive kind of boost of confidence when they see that they look really good, and so then they up their game and the photos get better throughout the shoot. The problem I would say for anybody only shooting film is you're missing this massive kind of opportunity to get more from your models. If I only shoot film and the model, they have no clue if I'm a great photographer or a terrible photographer. I'm not saying I'm either, I'm just trying to explain. And so they're always thinking like, oh, maybe these are going to be rubbish. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing, so why should I put extra effort in? Or I don't feel particularly excited because the photographer doesn't feel particularly excited, doesn't look excited, or whatever it may be. As soon as you show them a picture that they look like amazing, the best picture that they've ever seen, their eyes just light up, and often they'll give you like a massive hug. And then they're going to get better because their confidence has increased so much after seeing those photos. This is the primary reason why I shoot digital alongside film on all of my model shoots. And finally, number five, why do I shoot digital, and in particular, why do I shoot Leica? I shoot Leicas because I enjoy shooting Leicas, and we'll come on to this at the end of the video, why Leica compared to non-Leicas for digital. And I have multiple digital Leica cameras because I try to provide a service, if you want to call it that, where I try to be able to relate to people that shoot with the Leica Q cameras, the Leica CL cameras, the M cameras, and the Leica SL series cameras. By having one of each, I can use different Leica cameras in different videos and show what all the different Leica series cameras can do and the pros and cons of each camera. The beauty with digital Leica cameras is they are a lot of fun, so it's not the hardest thing in the world to own multiple cameras, but that's why I own multiple digital cameras despite not loving digital. I don't need my glasses on for this bit. Okay, so next, what is the difference between the experience of shooting with a camera versus the final results of shooting with a camera? So if you're like me, you may find that you absolutely love shooting with a particular camera, let's say like M10 for example, but when you get the final photos back on your computer, you don't value them maybe quite as much as if you'd shot it with your Leica M6 for example. So this is purely personal, but I really value photos shot on film and I don't really value photos shot on digital. I really don't value photos shot on non-Leica cameras. So call me a snob or whatever you want, but I've got a few Micro Four Thirds cameras which I've not included in the final count of cameras at the end. Stay tuned for that. But if I did shoot photos with them, I'd class them the same as shooting with an iPhone. I just don't value those photos. Whereas if you shoot with, say, my Leica M10, like a QM, SL, what else we got, CL, things like that, I value them more than other digital cameras, but not enough to make me shoot any digital. So then that brings on to the question, why film? Okay, why film? So for the film section, I am ready with my film look on. So note the film hat, therefore I am definitely a serious film shooter. I might get too hot wearing this hat, but we'll see how we go. So on a serious note, why do I shoot film? I shoot film, number one, because digital is too easy and I enjoy the process of more of a hands-on doing more stuff when shooting film. Even with a simple camera such as, let's say, like a M3, you've still got to physically load the film, think about the film choice and all those sorts of things, which I enjoy. I enjoy the process. Number two, similar to number one, digital cameras are too easy, so there's not that much you're going to learn from picking up the latest Leica camera or Nikon camera or Sony camera compared to your previous Sony or Nikon or Sony or Leica camera or whatever. If you shoot with film, because cameras can be really old, like 1930s, 40s onwards, even older, you've got so much more you can learn. So at the moment I'm going through my 4x5 phases you've probably seen if you've seen my previous videos or recent videos, and there's just so much to learn about 4x5 that I don't have a clue about, that I'm really enjoying the process of learning, and just every evening reading up about 4x5 cameras, watching 4x5 videos, large format videos that other people, other YouTubers have kindly put out for us. And I just love absorbing all this information. And the problem with digital is you just don't need to do that. You need to know maybe how to press the shutter, and maybe you might want to use the latest ModCon's feature of how to do fancy eye detect, pet detect, eye tracking, or whatever the latest ModCon is. But for real photography, I just enjoy playing with film cameras, and there are so many film cameras on the market or on eBay or wherever. You can pick up fun vintage cameras really cheap, relatively cheap, and then you need to work out how to use them. And once you master, say, 35mm rangefinders, then you might want to explore 35mm SLR cameras, then you might want to explore TLR cameras, then you might want to explore 4x5, then 8x10, and the list just goes on and on and on. So if you love learning and absorbing as much information as possible, I think film is an amazing place to explore. Number three, a simple one, I prefer the rendering of film compared to digital. Basically, I used to paint and draw as a kid, and I was quite good, reasonably good for my age, and so I've got kind of an arty background. And so when I see photos shot on film, they remind me more of paintings and sketches compared to digital pixels on a screen or whatever. The closest thing I've now got to this is now I've started printing my own photos in my darkroom, aka what was my bathroom. Photos is really becoming art, and it's just so exciting to literally make real art in your bathroom compared to just seeing an iPhone photo on your screen. So it is partly rendering, but it's partly the fact that it feels like art compared to it feels like a representation of what's in front of you. And it's the imperfections of film, which I absolutely love, compared to the perfection of digital, which doesn't excite me, if that makes sense. Number five, now despite my arty early years, I thought for final jobs art wasn't going to have much for a future, so I decided to go the science route. So I just studied science and then re-studied audit, and I was a chartered accountant before quitting to become a YouTuber. Maybe I'll link that video at the end. And so I've got quite a technical and data-driven mindset, despite being a bit arty as well. So because of this, I love film because there's so many things you can do to change the final photo. So you've got your film stock, you've then got your film developing, you've then got your film printing, you've then got your camera choice, your lens choice, and all of those things are going to affect your final photo. And I think I love film because there's just so many things you can do to make things look different or more cool. You can use color filters for black and white, you can use, the list is endless. I mean, you know yourselves all the possibilities, but I like film because I like to experiment, and I think it's my, as I say, my data side of me which enjoys the experimental side of film. What number are we up to? I think number six. Number six, I like the challenge to make hopefully good photos with vintage cameras. So I love the idea of getting like a 1930s Barnett Leica or a 1940s or 1950s 4x5 cameras. I've got a few. And then trying to make amazing pictures. I think that's really cool. And I think linked to that, number seven, giving a vintage camera a new life, I think is also really cool. Rather than it sit on someone's shelf for years and years, actually take it out and do a photo shoot or do a landscape shoot and just really show what these old technology cameras can still do in 2024 or whenever you might watch this video. So absolutely love the fact that you can do really cool stuff with really old cameras. Last but not least, number 8, I like the surprise of pulling the film out of the developing tank for the first time. You never quite know what you're going to get with film, and so it's always like Christmas. Every time you lift your film up, you're like, "Ooh, is it going to be good? Is it going to be good?" And then hopefully it will be good, but obviously sometimes it might not be, and then it's a learning curve, and then you try again next time. So the surprise of film, I think, is a big enjoyment factor compared to the instant gratification you get with digital. Okay, so I've talked a lot, but let's just stop and I'll prove to you how much I like film. And of all of my film cameras, you're going to be surprised there's quite a few. What percentage of my cameras are digital, and what percentage of my cameras are film, and I'll also include what percentage of my cameras are Leica. So let's go into that bit next. Okay, so to make this part of the video, I went on to mrleica.com blog and I copied the list of all the cameras that I've owned and reviewed, and I've got 102 cameras, less a few that I've sold. I then did a pie chart of 102, only 6% are digital and all the rest are film. I did tell you that I love film. Now, despite having the name mrleica.com, only 23% of my cameras are actually Leica and all the rest are non-Leica, so feel free to subscribe if you like non-Leica cameras too. Here's a full breakdown of all my cameras. So it's mostly 35mm, next medium format, and then roughly the same amount of digital cameras and 4x5 cameras, and then a few like Instax cameras on top. Or whatever they do. Okay, film it done. I can take my hat off, it's way too hot for woolly hats. Okay, with the film section done, I'm back to my digital talking hat now. So with digital talking hat on, I have my list. If shooting digital, why do I shoot Leica compared to non-Leica? Number one, Leica cameras are really nice to hold and use, and they're very simple as well. So I tend to shoot almost all my digital cameras with manual focus lenses, normally Leica M lenses or vintage lenses, and I'll just use single spot focus, and it's really, really simple. Linking to that, number two, if you want a very enjoyable digital, almost analog experience, shoot with Leica M digital cameras, because you've got the beauty of it feels like you're shooting film almost. You just don't have the nice film advanced bit and the loading film bit and all those bits, but you get a digital output. So I'll talk about this at the very end, but some people that don't have time to shoot film, or maybe don't have the interest to shoot film, might shoot Leica for fun, like I shoot film for fun, and then they'll shoot non-Leica for their professional work. So I shoot Leica for my professional work and I shoot film for fun, but we'll come to that at the end. Number three, one advantage of using Leica cameras is you can of course access all the cool vintage Leica lenses. So yes, now on some digital cameras, you can use vintage Leica lenses and not have the issues of softening in the corners and things like that from the focus stack. But if you want maybe potentially the best results from a vintage Leica rangefinder camera, you're still going to be better to use them on a digital Leica rangefinder camera, because that's what they're designed for. And finally, number four, I enjoy the Leica system because I enjoy the small Leica lenses. and then if I pair that with a small Leica camera, it gives me more space in my bag to carry kind of big cool cameras like this. So cameras like M cameras are pretty small, but if you use a Leica CL, that's my smallest digital Leica camera. I put that in like one corner of my bag, and then I fill the rest of the bag with maybe Hasselblads or Nikon film cameras or 4x5 cameras or whatever it may be. I need to be able to carry digital for client work, but I need to make it as small as possible because my interest in the film, so I want the rest of my bag full of film cameras. Okay, and finally, what's the difference between shooting for fun and shooting because you have to? So go back to the very start. I shoot digital because I have to, because I shoot digital for client work, for making YouTube videos, for teaching, etc, etc, etc. I shoot digital Leica cameras because I have to, although they are very nice to use as well. And then I appreciate the output of film, so I shoot film for fun. If I then take another example, one of my patrons, Toby, he is a professional photographer, so he has to take photos for his job. He uses Canon EOS cameras, R5 and an EOS, another camera, and Phase 1 cameras for his job. But then he uses his M9 cameras for pleasure with cool vintage lenses. I'm not sure if I should say this, but I met a Leica ambassador in the US. He was a Leica ambassador, but he shot Canon for his professional work, and he shot Leica for fun because he needed the performance of the non-Leica camera for the speed and things that what he needed for his professional work. So if you want to enjoy your photography and you're not interested in film, perhaps consider a Leica camera as your fun camera if you can afford to get one used. And if you already shoot Leica and you want something, and you maybe you're on a flat plateau and you're not enjoying it as much as you used to, maybe consider cool cameras like this or Hasselblads or anything else, and they may rekindle your interest in photography. I watched a Nick Carver video the other night. I think he's awesome, and I was interested. It was quite an old video, and he said he was shooting digital and he went through a flat spot. It was only when he started shooting with film that kind of rekindled his love for photography. So if you're watching this and your love of photography is, and it's an absolute all-time low, perhaps pick up a nice 4x5 camera or any film camera on eBay, and that just might be the key to pull you back to your highest highs of enjoyment when shooting cameras. I'll leave you this little clip that I shot for Patreon. I can put a link to it below. This is what is important when it comes to picking a camera. It's having a camera that inspires you to go out the front door and actually take pictures. I'll leave you with this and hope to see you in the next video. This is the first time I've done a morning walk with my cameras since living here for nearly 12 months. And so, yeah, I think it's always interesting to see what cameras inspire you to go out and do these sorts of let's go out and take some photos for the sake of taking photos things.